Your soulmate secretly returned $1 million engagement gift. The reason broke everyone's heart. My beloved child, before your thoughts rush ahead, stand still for one impossible moment, because somewhere, beyond everything you can currently see, a decision has already been made that no one expected. A priceless engagement gift, worth more than most people could ever dream of, was quietly placed back into the hands of the one who offered it. No celebration. No argument. No public announcement. Only silence, the kind of silence that carries 1,000 untold emotions. And what happened after that left every witness questioning what true love actually looks like. Stay a little longer, because the reason behind that returned gift was never about money. It was about something far more valuable, something that may change the way you understand your own journey forever. Imagine receiving everything the world says should guarantee happiness. A sparkling future. Endless comfort. A life that appears perfect from the outside. Yet what if your heart whispered a completely different truth? What if, in the quietest hour of the night, your soulmate realized that accepting such a gift would mean walking away from the path their soul had always recognized? Most people would never understand that choice. They would call it foolish. They would call it impossible. But the deepest decisions are rarely understood by the loudest voices. They are made in moments when no audience is watching, when destiny asks only one question: will you choose what looks valuable, or what truly is? Look carefully at your own life. Have you ever wondered why certain opportunities disappeared just when they seemed within reach? Have you questioned why some doors closed so suddenly that it almost felt unfair? Perhaps those endings were never punishments. Perhaps they were quiet protections. Because not every beautiful offer belongs to your future. Some gifts arrive only to test whether your heart recognizes the difference between appearance and purpose. And that is exactly where today's story begins to unfold. The extraordinary part is what happened after your soulmate returned that remarkable engagement gift. Nobody expected tears. Nobody expected complete silence across the room. They expected anger, disappointment, confusion. Instead, something entirely different appeared on every face. It was as though people suddenly realized they had witnessed courage disguised as loss. They understood that some treasures become heavier than chains when they ask you to abandon the person you were always meant to become. Pause for a second and ask yourself something that very few people ever dare to ask. What if the greatest proof of love isn't holding on to something extraordinary, but having the strength to gently let it go? That question alone has changed countless lives. Because real destiny never competes for attention. It waits patiently until fear grows quiet enough for truth to be heard. You may think this story is only about someone else. But what if it has been quietly pointing toward you all along? What if someone connected to your future has already made a difficult decision that you know nothing about? Not because they stopped caring, but because they refused to build a future on anything that felt incomplete. Sometimes the strongest feelings are hidden beneath the calmest actions. Sometimes the loudest declaration of love is spoken without a single word. Wait a little longer, because this is where everything begins to shift. Days passed, yet the returned gift became the subject of countless conversations. People searched for practical explanations. Some believed there had been a misunderstanding. Others imagined hidden conflicts. Everyone created theories. Yet every theory missed the one truth that mattered most. The reason was never written on paper. It was carried silently inside a heart that refused to exchange authenticity for comfort. And here's the remarkable part that almost nobody noticed. The value of that engagement gift slowly stopped mattering. The number attached to it faded into the background. Instead, one unforgettable question echoed through every conversation. What kind of love would inspire someone to walk away from unimaginable wealth? That question spread further than the story itself. Because deep inside, every listener recognized that they, too, had once stood between convenience and conviction. There are moments in every life that arrive without warning. They don't announce themselves with bright lights or dramatic music. They arrive quietly, disguised as ordinary choices. Yet years later, those simple choices become the reason your entire future looks different. This may be one of those moments for someone connected to your destiny. A turning point hidden beneath complete silence. Before this chapter closes, remember one thought that may stay with you longer than anything else you've heard today. The rarest hearts are not searching for the most expensive promise. They are searching for the promise that still remains true when everything impressive has disappeared. And somewhere, beyond today's visible horizon, that truth is preparing to reveal why a returned gift became the beginning of a far greater story, one that almost no one saw coming. A strange realization begins to settle in now, because the story did not end when the engagement gift was returned. In many ways, that quiet decision was only the first page of something far greater. While everyone else focused on what had been given back, only a few noticed what your soulmate carried away instead. It wasn't wealth. It wasn't certainty. It was peace, the kind of peace that cannot be purchased, borrowed, or imitated. Stay with this moment, because the next revelation explains why that single choice left an unforgettable mark on every heart that witnessed it. In the days that followed, people kept asking the same question. Why would anyone walk away from such an extraordinary future? Yet the answers they searched for never appeared where they expected. They searched in conversations, in rumors, in opinions. But the real answer lived somewhere much quieter. Your soulmate had discovered that a future built on admiration alone could never replace a future built on genuine connection. They understood something that many people spend a lifetime trying to learn. That impressive beginnings mean very little if the heart cannot recognize itself within them. Think about this for a moment. Have you ever smiled while something inside you whispered that the story wasn't complete? From the outside, everything can appear perfect, yet deep within, a small voice keeps saying, "Keep waiting. Your real chapter hasn't arrived yet." That whisper is easy to ignore because the world celebrates quick answers. But destiny often speaks in pauses instead of applause. Sometimes the greatest progress looks exactly like standing still while everyone else rushes ahead. Now imagine the person who offered that priceless engagement gift. They expected gratitude. They expected excitement. Instead, they received honesty wrapped in kindness. There was no bitterness. No blame. Only quiet respect. And strangely enough, that respectful farewell became more powerful than any celebration could have been. Those watching suddenly realized that dignity leaves a deeper impression than drama ever could. Before we continue, if this story reminds you that true connections are built on honesty rather than appearances, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. And if these journeys of hope and destiny speak to you, you're always welcome to subscribe so we can continue exploring them together. But here is where the mystery deepens. Not long after that unforgettable day, someone close to your soulmate asked a simple question: do you regret returning something so valuable? There was a long pause. No immediate answer. Then came a quiet smile that surprised everyone in the room. The response was gentle: you can replace money. You can replace opportunities. But if you ignore what your heart knows to be true, you may spend years trying to find yourself again. Those words spread farther than anyone expected. People stopped talking about the price of the gift and started talking about the strength it takes to choose authenticity over comfort. Even those who disagreed couldn't stop thinking about it. Why? Because somewhere inside themselves, they recognized moments when they had chosen the easier road instead of the truer one. And what does this have to do with you? Perhaps far more than you realize. There are unseen moments unfolding in every person's life. Conversations that never become public, decisions that happen behind closed doors, promises made silently without witnesses. What if someone connected to your future has already faced one of those moments? What if they have already chosen patience over pressure, truth over appearance, purpose over convenience? That possibility changes everything. Because destiny rarely announces itself with grand speeches. It moves quietly, one decision at a time, until suddenly the entire picture begins to make sense. The returned engagement gift was never the ending people imagined. It became the proof that some journeys must first let go of what shines brightly, before they can recognize what shines forever. And just when everyone believed the story had finally settled, an unexpected message arrived, one that revealed a hidden detail about the returned gift that nobody, not even the closest observers, had ever discovered. Wait until the next part, because that forgotten detail changes the meaning of everything you've heard so far. Another quiet piece of the story has finally surfaced, and this is the moment almost everyone overlooked. Long after the engagement gift had been returned and the conversations had begun to fade, an old keepsake was discovered beside the unopened box. It wasn't expensive. It wasn't rare. In fact, most people would have walked past it without a second glance. Yet the moment your soulmate picked it up, their expression changed completely. Suddenly, the priceless gift no longer seemed like the center of the story. The forgotten keepsake carried something far more valuable, a reminder that the greatest promises are never measured by their price, but by the truth they awaken inside a heart. Those who were present expected another emotional conversation. Instead, they witnessed complete silence. It wasn't an uncomfortable silence. It was the kind that appears when someone finally understands why every difficult decision had been necessary. One person quietly asked, was returning the gift really worth everything that followed? Your soulmate didn't answer immediately. They simply looked toward the horizon, smiled gently, and whispered, "Some paths become clear only after you're brave enough to leave the wrong one behind." Those words stayed with everyone. Think about your own journey for a moment. How many times have you mistaken delay for defeat? How many times have you believed that something leaving your life meant something precious had been lost forever? What if those moments were actually creating space for something that fits your future more perfectly than you could imagine? The heart often sees possibilities long before the eyes are ready to recognize them. As the weeks passed, something unexpected began happening. The people who once questioned your soulmate's decision slowly changed their perspective. They realized that returning the engagement gift had never been an act of rejection. It was an act of respect, respect for another person's future, respect for honesty, and most importantly, respect for a destiny that could not be forced. Then came the detail that almost nobody knew. Inside the returned package was a handwritten note. It contained no dramatic explanation, no blame, no sadness. Just a single heartfelt message. A future deserves truth more than promises made without certainty. That one sentence quietly transformed everything. The person who received the gift back didn't become angry. Instead, they understood something unexpected. Genuine love can never be built on hesitation. It must grow from freedom, trust, and complete sincerity. And although the moment was difficult, it prevented years of living a life that never truly belonged to either of them. Now ask yourself this. What if someone connected to your own future is learning this very lesson in their own way? What if unseen choices are already shaping tomorrow while today still feels uncertain? Destiny often works where human eyes cannot see. It moves through quiet decisions, honest conversations, and moments that seem ordinary until they completely reshape the future. This is why appearances can be so misleading. A returned gift looked like an ending. In reality, it became the first honest step toward a life that carried greater peace, deeper purpose, and a connection that would never need to pretend to be something it wasn't. If you've stayed with this story until now, perhaps there is a reason. Maybe you were never meant to focus on the value of the gift. Maybe you were meant to discover the value of courage, the courage to choose what is true even when the world cannot understand it. And just when everyone believed every secret had finally been revealed, someone uncovered one final detail about the day that engagement gift was returned. It wasn't hidden inside the box. It was hidden inside a conversation no one thought to remember. That forgotten conversation would change the entire meaning of the story, and reveal why this decision was connected to a future far greater than anyone had imagined. A final piece has been waiting quietly in the shadows, and this is the moment where every scattered clue begins to connect. The engagement gift, the silent return, the handwritten note, none of those were the deepest secret. They were only reflections of a conversation that happened long before anyone realized its importance. A conversation so simple that everyone forgot it, until one person remembered every single word. Stay until the final moment, because what was said that day transformed the entire meaning of everything you've heard. Someone who had been present finally spoke. They remembered your soulmate looking at the unopened gift before gently saying, "A promise should never begin with uncertainty. If my heart still feels called toward another path, then honesty is the greatest gift I can give today." Those words were never meant for an audience. They were spoken quietly, almost as if carried away by the wind. Yet once they were remembered, every mystery suddenly made sense. People who had once judged the decision became silent. They realized they had mistaken courage for hesitation. Returning the gift had never been about rejecting a future, it was about protecting everyone involved from living a future that wasn't truly theirs. Sometimes the kindest decision is also the hardest one to explain. Truth rarely arrives with applause. It simply stands firm while opinions slowly catch up. Now think about your own path. Have you noticed how certain moments refuse to leave your memory? Certain conversations, certain faces, certain feelings that quietly return when everything else has faded? Perhaps those memories are not trying to pull you backward. Perhaps they are reminding you that your future deserves the same honesty your heart has always been searching for. As the months passed, something remarkable happened. The story that had once been whispered as a tale of loss slowly became known as a story of wisdom. People stopped asking about the value of the engagement gift. Instead, they asked about the strength it took to return it. They discovered that integrity leaves a legacy far greater than wealth ever could. And then, almost unexpectedly, a new chapter began. Your soulmate no longer carried the weight of pretending. There was peace in every step, clarity in every decision, and hope where uncertainty had once lived. It wasn't because every answer had appeared overnight. It was because they had chosen truth before comfort. That single decision became the foundation for everything that followed. If this journey has touched something inside you, thank you for being here. Feel free to share your thoughts below, subscribe if these stories inspire you, and send this message to someone who may need a reminder that honesty is never wasted. Sometimes one story reaches the exact heart that has been waiting to hear it. Before this story closes, remember one final thought. The world often measures love by grand gestures, expensive gifts, or unforgettable celebrations. But destiny measures it differently. It looks for sincerity. It looks for patience. It looks for the quiet courage to choose what is real, even when nobody else understands. One day, people may forget the price of the engagement gift. They may forget who offered it. They may even forget when it was returned. But they will never forget the lesson it left behind. The greatest future is never purchased. It is built, one honest decision, one faithful step, and one courageous heart at a time. And perhaps, somewhere beyond today's horizon, your own story is already moving toward a chapter that will prove the same timeless truth. The ending you fear today may simply be the doorway to the beginning you have been waiting for all along. One final truth remains, and strangely enough, it was never hidden inside the engagement gift at all. It was hidden inside the transformation that followed. Because after everything settled, after the whispers disappeared and the questions finally grew quiet, people noticed something extraordinary. Your soulmate no longer looked like someone who had lost a priceless future. They looked like someone who had finally found one. That change confused everyone. How could someone who had returned $1 million engagement gift walk forward with greater peace than before? The answer wasn't found in wealth. It wasn't found in status. It wasn't found in the opinions of the crowd. It was found in one quiet realization. A heart that remains true to itself can never truly lose. From that day on, every person who had witnessed the story began seeing life differently. They started questioning the choices they had made simply to satisfy expectations. They wondered how many dreams had been exchanged for comfort, How many honest feelings had been hidden behind perfect appearances? And how many futures had quietly drifted away because fear spoke louder than truth? Perhaps that is why this story found you today. Not because it is about someone else's journey, but because every journey eventually reaches a moment where appearance and authenticity stand side by side, asking one simple question. Which one will you choose? There is something remarkable about destiny. It never rushes. It never forces. It simply waits until your inner world becomes stronger than outside pressure. Only then does the next chapter reveal itself. Imagine this. Years from now, someone asks about the famous engagement gift that everyone once talked about. At first, they remember the incredible value. Then they remember that it was returned. But after a moment, they smile. Because they realize the gift itself was never the miracle. The miracle was the courage behind the decision. The miracle was discovering that honesty can create a future far more beautiful than comfort ever could. And perhaps, somewhere you cannot yet see, someone connected to your own future is learning the exact same lesson. They may be releasing old expectations. They may be